What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the September 27, 2021 edition of Raw Talk. This episode being hosted by Scott Stanford and by Matt Camp. I think last week was, Stanford and Camp as well. So I'm not sure when Kayla's going to be back. She was great in this role. Hopefully it's just a scheduling conflict and she will be back next week or the week after, who knows. But per usual, I thought Stanford and Camp did a good job. So they recap the opening to the show, the ending to the show that saw Big E and Bobby Lashley on both occasions fight for the WWE Championship before running down the biggest headlines from the show, including Keithley coming back as Keith Bearcat Lee is what they're calling him. I thought it would be Bearcat Keithley. I don't love the nickname. I mean, it sounds fine enough. The issue, this is a small thing, but I think it would sound better in the beginning, if you even say it at all. It could just be a moniker. Even kind of adopting it into a gimmick, I think, is goofy. But even if they were to call him with the nickname, like incorporate the nickname, use it before the name, putting it in the middle of the name just sounds goofy. But they talk about Keithley's newfound intensity, and he's kind of always been intense, but he showed even more of a mean streak on Monday's Raw. Kind of showing signs of turning heel, maybe. That's been the rumor for a while now, so that's probably what they're getting at, based on how they talked about him here. They also talk about the potential of him leaving Raw in the upcoming WWE draft, and he's been a part of the Raw brand since joining the Raw roster, being called up from NXT just over a year ago, so him going to SmackDown for the first time would be something new. They actually interview, Kevin Patrick does backstage at Raw, Keithley here on the show, Keith Bearcat Lee, that is, and he's wearing Mia Yim's shirt, which is cool. Where the fuck she's been, I have no idea. I don't think, as far as I know, it's a Mia Yim issue. If she was ever not cleared to compete, that was, done away with a long time ago. There were rumors of her going to SmackDown, debuting on SmackDown, plans for her to go to SmackDown in May. It is almost October. I don't think we have seen Mia Yim on WWE TV once since the breakup of Retribution. I don't think she's competed in a match since December. I don't know what the hell is going on with her. And Keithley's back. It's not like, she's at home helping Keithley out with his health issues. No, he's back on the road. He's on the show, so where the hell is she? Maybe they're waiting until after the draft. Who the hell knows? It really should not have taken as long as it has, considering that Mustafa Ali was another one that nothing wrong, not injured or whatever, and he sat on the sidelines for many months as well, so who the hell knows? But Kevin Patrick interviews Keithley about his newfound intensity and his re-debut on Raw this week. He keeps it short and sweet when Kevin asks him about, is this a new attitude? Are we seeing a new Keithley? And Keithley simply said no. He just kind of kept it short and sweet. And he said, elaborating a bit, saying it doesn't matter what show he's on, and the mission statement for him remains the same. And the person they thought they knew is different, he said, in regards to the fans. So all signs point to him turning heel. I'm not sure how good of an idea that is. I really think he's a natural babyface. People want to cheer for Keithley. So that to me is just stupid. Hey, if it gets him back on the show, they want to give him a fresh coat of paint, new name, new attire, whatever. At least he's back on the show. So that's a plus. But at any rate, Stanford and Camp talk about Keithley scaring Kevin Patrick and how intimidating he was in their interview before recapping Damian Priest and Sheamus, the no disqualification, no countout match for the United States Championship from Raw, which was a great match. No surprise there, given who was involved. And they talk about how Priest kind of keeps getting back up, and every time he's battered and beaten by people like Sheamus and Hardy and McIntyre, he keeps being resilient and getting back up and battling back and retaining that United States Championship. They talk about how Sheamus has never before held that Intercontinental Championship, and it's very possible he can go to SmackDown in the upcoming draft. Priest, on the other hand, is a battle-tested champion, and he will continue to roll on as the champion for as long as he wants to. They also bring up the Royal Rumble being in St. Louis, which WWE announced on Monday morning. Very cool. It's going to be on a Saturday for the first time this year, kind of following the trend of SummerSlam. So a SummerSlam Saturday, now a Royal Rumble Saturday. I don't know if that's going to be like a Big Four thing. Survivor Series is on a Sunday, so I guess not, but I thought that was cool. So Stanford and Camp back in the studio recap the AJ Styles Riddle match, which was great. That saw AJ Styles pick up the victory. Matt Camp says that Styles and Omos, coming off that win, have got to have the right to challenge for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Technically, Bobby Lashley and MVP became the number one contenders a few weeks ago by winning the Tag Team Gauntlet But we haven't heard anything about that since then, so I guess not. So I guess that doesn't even matter in retrospect, which is a complete waste of television time because they really spent a majority of that show kind of focused around that tag team gauntlet. So I guess I should expect nothing less from WWE, nothing different. And then Scott Stanford, while they're recapping the Charlotte-Alexa Bliss match from Extreme Rules, Scott Stanford pulls out stuffing and he gives it to Stanford, or he gives it to Matt Camp, kind of saying that it's a Lily's stuffing, which was weird. They also recap Charlotte and Doudrop for the Raw Women's Championship from Raw, which was, again, a complete waste of time. 90 seconds of nothing. Why even do the fucking match? The post-match angle, Shayna Baszler killing Eva Marie, was awesome. They love that. Matt Camp agrees. He loves how there's no trepidation with Eva Marie like there was with Nia Jax, and she made that quite clear here in her interview here on the show. And he likes seeing Shayna Baszler being dominant, like we saw her being dominant in NXT on her own. So hopefully we could see more of that going forward, regardless of what show she ends up on the draft. Like I said, they interviewed her here, and she said that with Nia Jax, sometimes in this business, you gotta do things that don't feel good, and Nia was her only friend backstage, which is the complete opposite of what they've kind of led us to believe up to this point. They made us think that they were tag team partners who hated each other but got along for the goal of just becoming champions, but I guess they were friends. Whatever, I guess we're retconning that now. Attacking Nia for her did not feel good, but attacking Eva Marie definitely did feel good, and she plans to keep chasing that feeling. Back in the studio, Scott and Matt recap the Karrion Kross Jackson Riker match, with Kross winning decisively, as he should have. Cam says it took Kross some time to kind of get to where he is now, after some early setbacks with the losses to Keithley and Jeff Hardy. But he's finally kind of battling back from that, working his way back up the ladder, stacking up wins, which is great. I'm glad they're booking him to be dominant. He needs a real storyline going into the draft, or coming out of the draft, rather. The get-up and the attire is stupid, but then why not book him to be dominant from the get-go? That's the problem with this company. But they talk about how he's been beating people quickly and decisively, so that will be something to keep an eye out for going forward. And Stanford calls him dangerous. They also talk about Goldberg calling out Bobby Lashley, basically putting a hit out on his life, basically saying he was going to kill the guy, so whatever. I guess that's okay in WWE. Before recapping, again, Big E and Bobby Lashley, the steel cage main event for the WWE Championship. And Matt Camp makes a comment about big men slapping meat, which is one of those classic comments from Big E on the New Day podcast from like about a year and a half ago. And people still talk about it now, and Big E talks about it in interviews and whatnot, because it's such a great fucking clip. It's so funny. And Matt Camp says the meat gets even bigger, with Drew McIntyre coming out to confront Big E and seemingly challenge him for the WWE Championship. And we hear from McIntyre to close out the show here. He discusses this stipulation and that he could not have gone for the WWE title as long as it was held by Bobby Lashley. Well, after 2 weeks ago and after tonight's Raw, with Bobby Lashley failing in his rematch for the championship, he can no longer, or now rather Big E, can go for the WWE Championship again, which is cool. He does say Big E deserved his shot. He deserves this run as WWE Championship. But he's got another thing coming, and McIntyre is coming for that championship, as well as the Universal Champion if he ends up on SmackDown in the draft, which is very possible. And something I expected to happen before he showed up at the end of Raw this week. It could have just been a tease. It may not actually happen. Who knows? But we'll find out in the draft this coming Friday and next Monday. And then he also discusses, being back home in his native Scotland is where he's from, right? In his interview with Kevin here, because obviously Kevin Patrick is from around there, and they're both from Europe. And McIntyre was on the recent UK tour that SmackDown did. I guess they weren't. Were they not in the UK for SmackDown that Friday? I guess not, which is bizarre. I mean, if you're in the UK anyway, why wouldn't you just tape the show there? But I guess they had the pay-per-view on Sunday. Maybe they wanted them out of there before then for whatever city they were in for SmackDown that Friday instead. But nonetheless, I thought that was weird. But yeah, they end the interview with Kevin Patrick and McIntyre talking about being back home, and they kind of fade to black on that without actually ending the interview formally before Stanford and Camp hype up the draft this coming Friday and next Monday on Raw. So a pretty middle-of-the-road edition of Raw Talk this week per usual. I don't like the studio format, but the comments we did hear from McIntyre made sense. Hear from Keithley was cool. We haven't really had that much mic time from Keith since he came back to the company a couple of months ago, so I'm glad he's back. And we got to hear from a little bit here, and hopefully we see more of that Lee and hear more from Lee on the actual show itself, that being Raw. And the Shayna Baszler comments were great too. So, slightly above average edition of Raw Talk by recent standards. It was fine for what it was. Thank you guys for checking out my recap of the show here on the channel. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit that bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.